will come, Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to the base hit. Justice has scored the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is safe. Safe at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat when they were children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead it by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series for Reggie.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Bracket throws. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run. The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins. Here's the pitch to Willie.
There's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right.
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take. I'll tell you what, we're having an earth.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
Long drive to left field. Way back. Gets it back. One out.
Base hit loaded, 1 out. Pena in a chance. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Hey! Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, are you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here. You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Friday. Yeah,
Friday.
That sounds good.
It does, doesn't it?
Friday.
1 day before Saturday.
Oh, man. Best day of the week, if you ask me.
Good to have you with us. This is the Dan Scott Show. I am he. That is Forrest Stulting. And we're very happy to have you with us here on the program, streaming live on Facebook Live, on Twitter through Periscope, on my YouTube page. And as of this morning, we welcome the Furman Paladins YouTube page.
Bring the big dogs out today, huh, Dan?
And all nearly 1,300 subscribers to that page. For those of you who will be seeing the show for the first time, we talk a lot of different things. We talk sports on a local, regional, and national scene. From a Furman standpoint, we do try to give our Furman fans something they're not getting anywhere else on a daily basis. You'll get a lot of on-campus news and notes in a quick-fire manner up front in the early portion of the program. Today, for instance, after that, we're going to be talking quite a bit about Furman's matchup with NC State tomorrow in Raleigh. But we also take a look at the national scene. We'll be talking a lot of other college football today. Major League Baseball with the Cleveland Indians continuing to this historic run that they're on. And we do not ignore our high school football and the passion that there is for that. Scott Keeler will be in studio with us about 10:45 to talk high school football here in the upstate. But in any event, we're just getting cranked up on a gorgeous day here across the upstate. And you had a late night, had a chance to wrap up a championship last night with the Greenville Drive and came up a run short.
Yeah, just couldn't pull it out. We big error in the third on our part, and then I execute a rundown play in the fifth that allowed a run to score. And had a chance to get it back in the bottom of the eighth. A big error brought in a run, but could not bring in that third run of the inning to tie the game at 5. And so we'll be going to Game 4 tonight at Fluor Field at 7 o'clock. And the Drive will be pitching Hilderamo Requena, who's been their best pitcher all year, especially of late in the last 2 months. And for you Greenville natives out there, you'll be seeing a familiar face on the mound for the Kannapolis Intimidators. John Park, a 2013 graduate of Greenville High School and a Carolina Gamecock, will be making his debut for the Intimidators tonight. So come out and watch John Park, and hopefully he does well. And then the Drive win against their bullpen. So,
please tell me you know why the Kannapolis team is called the Intimidators.
I do.
Okay.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Earnhardt himself.
Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Senior, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah, he was the Intimidator.
Okay.
Junior was the imitator.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I see. So you're just blaming him for being his son, for being the intimidator?
No. I'm just saying there was only one Intimidator.
All right. Fair enough.
So,
that's understandable.
That was Dale Sr.
We'll take it.
So the Drive try to nail it down tonight.
Yeah,
they do not want to go to a winner-take-all tomorrow.
Absolutely not.
Don't want to come home and get put in that position.
Yeah, both teams right now are TBD for tomorrow's starter, so it's probably going to be a bullpen game.
Johnny Holstaff.
Yeah, exactly. So if the Drive can win tonight, that'd be huge because obviously we have our best pitcher going tonight in Requena, so we'll see if they can pull it off in 4 games. They have a 2-1 lead right now, so we'll see what happens tonight at Fluor Field, and be sure to come out and support your Drive.
All right, 7 o'clock tonight downtown here in Greenville at Fluor Field at the West End. On campus, what do we have going on?
A few things. A few sports teams are not only playing on campus but traveling away. The women's tennis team starts its fall slate of tournaments this weekend at USC Upstate and at Duke. Senior Aaron Green, junior Katie Weymouth, and sophomores Katrina Kozaroff and Danny Vines will represent the Paladins at Duke for that tournament. And at USC Upstate, junior Gabby Rodriguez, sophomores Hanny Ferret and Anna Walter, plus rookies Caroline Elizabeth Kerman and Georgie Walker will compete at Upstate. So big weekend for the Lady Pals in terms of just getting things rolling for the spring season and kind of get warmed up for that and work out any kinks that they need to. Volleyball will travel for the Rocky Top Invitational, and Dan, I'll give you one guess where that Rocky Top Invitational is.
It ain't in Colorado.
It is in Tennessee, and they will face Upstate today, and then Marshall and Tennessee on Saturday. Men's soccer, they travel to Clinton, South Carolina to face the PC Blue Hose tomorrow for a 1 o'clock game, I believe. So I think they have 2 more games on their non-conference schedule before SoCon play gets underway. Women's soccer travels to Kennesaw State tomorrow afternoon. And men's golf kicks off their first tournament of the year, the Golf Week Conference Challenge in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. They kick that off on Sunday. It goes through Tuesday. So good stuff for them. And also just want to mention the Furman baseball team. They have added padding around the entire perimeter of the field on the chain link fences. So when you come
it's not just adding padding. I think it's all new fencing, isn't it? Or did they put padding over the fencing?
I think it's padding over the fencing.
But whatever it is, it looks fantastic.
Oh yeah, so if you haven't got to look at it, go check that out, and it's going to be an incredible scene once you come back for the first games in February. So
yeah, today actually is the first day of official fall practice.
It is, yeah,
for Brett Harker's club. So
they were out there at 6 a.m. this morning getting some running in and some lifting in. So I know they're working hard for a successful season come 2018.
Well, that's the plan.
That is a plan. Oh yes, sir. No doubt about that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's a look at what's going on as far as campus is concerned here at Furman, and we try to do that right at the top of the show every day, so our Furman fans get a good idea as to where the teams are, who's getting recognized, because we seemingly every week are having conference players of the week in multiple sports, and even national players of the week, as we talked about yesterday with redshirt freshman Ben Hell, the goalie for the soccer program, men's soccer program. So we try to get you all that news right up front. Elsewhere today, obviously, we're going to be spending quite a bit of time on college football, including an extended segment here in a moment talking about Furman and NC State. But we forgot something yesterday.
What did we forget?
We forgot the trivia question.
We did. You got that right, Dan.
So we have to bounce back today, and today's trivia question needs to be a good one.
Oh, it is. I got 2 good ones, and I'm going to pick the better one, I think. Okay. So how many it's going to entail Furman football. How many Powden rushers have run for at least 100 yards 10 or more times?
Wow. How many?
How many?
Okay.
So there's been a lot of Furman rushers to have rushed for 100 yards, but how many of those guys have done it 10 plus times in a career?
That's a good question.
Yeah. Wasn't lying there, Dan.
Yeah. If you have a guess, you can leave it in the Facebook comment section, or if you've connected to any of the other platforms, you can leave it in your comments section, and we see it on a web chat through our restreaming service here. So we will hear from all of you, or you can send it to us via Twitter right here at Dan Scott Show. So how many times, or how many backs, how many running backs have rushed for 100 or more yards in a game 10 or more times in their career at Furman? We'll see if anybody gets the answer. Bonus points for not only how many, but who.
Absolutely. That'd be impressive.
If you get how many and who, you'll get both the pat on the back and the attaboy instead of one or the other.
You got that right, Dan.
All right, let's take a quick break. Yeah. We'll come back, and we'll spend some time talking Furman and North Carolina State. Huge challenge for Clay Hendricks' club, and that is obviously an understatement as they venture into ACC territory. Ironically enough, this is the FBS program that Furman has not only a winning record against, but they have doubled the win total of the Wolfpack in the series history.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about that and much more when the Dan Scott Show continues. Before we step out, I need to remind you the show is brought to you each and every day by our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company, located right down the road here in Cherrydale. Again, breakfast there this morning. Again, the food was fantastic, and again, the people are even better than the food. They have a great menu as the weather starts to turn a little cooler, heading toward the fall and then deeper into the fall. Don't forget about the soups, the chili, the warm paninis, all those things that seem to be really good that time of year. And again, the people there are just wonderful, top shelf. Stop by, see them, thank them, especially if you get a chance to talk to Jeff Massey, the owner. Thank him for his continuing support of our program. That's the Atlanta Bread Company in Cherrydale. And as we go to break, here's a little more about them. We'll return to talk NC State and Furman right after this on the Dan Scott Show. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimmented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. Friday edition of the show continues. It's 12 minutes past the hour. Welcome those of you watching on Facebook Live, on Periscope, which is Twitter's live streaming, on YouTube, both my page and the Furman Paladins page, listening on the Campus FM and via TuneIn Radio at WPLS-LP. We've got all of the basic possibilities covered here except for carrier pigeon and smoke signal.
You got that right.
And we can probably work on that.
I have some connections there, Dan.
Okay,
so,
good.
Yep.
Somehow I knew you would. You heard there at the end the ad about CPR cell phone repair. Forrest has this infatuation with the nope there for some reason. Every time he hears it, he laughs.
You got that right. It's just something about the voice and how you're like, no way.
Anyway, just a reminder that they do quality work there. They're located at Cherrydale Plaza, CPR Cell Phone Repair. Janet Culver is the new owner, and she's got the place just it's just thriving right now. You need to go in and see what they've got. They did my cell phone, my iPhone 6S, in about 30 minutes. They say they can do iPhones in an hour. Mine was a little less than that. They can do tablets and phones. Almost any brand, any make, they say they can get it done, usually same day. They also do gaming systems and computers, and not just the screen repairs, but also can replace the hard drives. They sell refurbished phones and tablets. They sell new accessories for your phones and tablets. And you need to go in and see them. When you do, please, it's imperative that you tell them you heard about them here on the Dan Scott Show. They're located in Cherrydale Plaza, right next to our buddy Ed Patterson, State Farm Agency. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair. Tell them you heard about them here on the show today. All right, Forrest, so coming up on Saturday, tomorrow at 11:20 a.m., we will be hitting the air live on the Furman IMG Sports Network with the Southern Fried Cotton Tailgate Show as the Paladins travel to Raleigh, North Carolina to take on NC State in a 12:20 a.m. kickoff. And, of course, this is the annual money game that Furman plays. They have to play up, level of competition once a year to get the big check, and all schools our size do it. What's interesting about this particular matchup is that Furman actually has, I believe it's an 8-4.
You're correct.
8-4-1 or 8-4-4.
8-4-4.
8-4-4 advantage in the all-time series. The last two times they met in the mid-'80s.
84 and 85.
Paladins won both of them and spanked them in 85.
Yeah, 42 to 20.
Yeah, and ironically enough, as I joked with Clay Hendricks the other day, the last Paladin coach to beat North Carolina State, Dick Sheridan, was coaching there the next year.
Yeah, so.
And Clay Hendricks was on that staff for 2 years before coming back to Furman.
Graduate assistant, yes, sir.
So there's a lot of history between these two teams and a lot of history that Clay Hendricks personally has between Furman and NC State. The reality of the situation is this North Carolina State team is going to present a monster challenge, and there's no overlooking that. They are big, they're fast, they have they don't have the best defensive line in the ACC. Clemson's got that sewn up.
No doubt.
They have maybe the second best defensive line in the ACC, which might make them the best defensive line in a number of conferences all across the country.
No, you're absolutely correct.
They are talented, they are fast, and yet under head coach Dave Doran, they have underachieved.
Oh, yeah.
And they seem to always find an egg or three to lay during the course of the season. And I thought, many people thought, in fact, that in the season opener this year that they were going to take South Carolina and probably win it by 7 to 10 points, maybe more. And obviously that didn't happen. South Carolina beat them up there in Charlotte. They did bounce back last week. You start looking at their offensive numbers through 2 games, and they are very impressive. Their quarterback, Ryan Finley, the junior, redshirt junior, in fact, from Phoenix, completing 74% of his passes. And even my meager West Virginia math skills can get that because he's 74 of 100.
That's not bad there, Dan.
Yeah. 756 yards, 5 touchdowns. His primary target, as far as number of catches, has been the H-back, Jalen Samuels, 20 catches for 145 yards, so he's more of a short yardage guy. But then you start looking at Kelvin Harmon, 19 catches, 235, and a touchdown. Stephen Lewis, 10 catches, 112 yards, and a touchdown. So they've got some guys with big play capability. They have been, through 2 games, extremely pass-heavy.
Oh, no doubt.
378 passing, 116.5 yards running the football. Obviously, you would think that their game plan against Furman would be to come out and try very hard to establish the run against the Paladins. So, we'll see if they're able to do that or not. They're big up front. They go 300, 331, 298, 315, 322 from left tackle to right tackle. And while that's not considerably bigger than, say, the Elon line as far as weights go that we saw this past weekend, they are going to be bigger in bulk. They're going to be significantly faster, significantly more athletic.
Probably more fine-tuned in their scheme works up front as well.
All of those things. And the same thing on the defensive front. They go across their 4-man defensive front from field end to boundary end, 287, 315, and 312 in the middle. And then Bradley Chubb, the little guy, 275, the senior from Marietta, Georgia. If that name sounds familiar, because he has a cousin named Nick Chubb.
Oh, yes.
Who totes the ball for the Georgia Bulldogs.
And I want to mention this, too. He is projected on most draft boards to be drafted in the top 20 of this year's NFL draft. So it's going to be big for the Paladins to contain him off the edge and make the other 3 guys beat him on the ball.
12 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and a sack in their first 2 games. NC State giving up 348.5 yards per game, only 66 rushing, but 282.5 passing. So, you start talking about just the sheer numbers and those kind of things. It really doesn't begin to tell the story of the challenge that an FCS team has stepping up to play an FBS team. you run into not only size and athleticism differences, but the biggest single difference is depth.
Oh, there's no doubt about that.
At every position, and the ability to rest starters. Since I've been here at Furman, we have played at Florida, at LSU, at Virginia Tech, at South Carolina, at Clemson, and I'm leaving one out. Oh, Michigan State last year. Well, the Florida, LSU, and Michigan State games, Furman was in. In fact, my first year, Furman was up 22-9 early second quarter at Florida, and the Gator fans in the swamp were booing Will Muschamp.
As they should.
As they should have, exactly. LSU, that game should have been tied at the half. Furman went in down 4. A penalty wiped away a touchdown. We had to settle for a field goal. But the difference in those two games, not so much last year at Michigan State, but the difference in those two games as you got into the second half and continued to go into the fourth quarter and deeper into the ball game was the depth just continued to wear down Furman on both sides of the ball. They were able to just keep running wave after wave after wave of these bigger, stronger, athletic players, and they just couldn't contain that. Last year at Michigan State, all of a sudden you intercept a pass with 11:40 or something like that to go in the game at their 42-yard line, down 28-20. Which was the final score.
You got a barn burner.
You've got an opportunity. Of course, we turned it over on the very next play, gave it right back to them. But the folks in Spartan Country were wondering what in the world's going on here. And of course, with the season they would have after that, they asked that question an awful lot.
You got that right.
But the point is that this North Carolina State team, the biggest challenge beyond anything you can look at numbers wise, anything you can look at weight-wise, athletic ability-wise, is going to be the depth and the ability just to continuously wear down a smaller, undermanned, less scholarship program. And that's why FCS schools don't have a whole lot of success in games like this.
Unless you're North Dakota State.
Unless you're North Dakota State, which they have had their run here recently, and of course in the opening week we saw 2 or 3 upsets, but those were
outliers.
Those were not Power 5 programs that got beat. Those were the Group of 5 programs that got beat.
Your fringe teams.
So the real issue is going to be depth. For Furman to win this game, what has to happen? Well, North Carolina State is going to have to give them a lot of help.
Yeah, I think
they're going to have to turn it over. They're going to have to be mentally out of the game. I mean, there are a lot of things that have to happen. But you never say never.
I think that the first quarter is going to be very important for the Paladins and for the Wolfpack. If the Paladins can find a way to make 2 or 3 stops in the first quarter going into the second and make this thing a 1-score game going into halftime, that's going to leave the Wolfpack a little bit uneasy coming out of that locker room and maybe tighten things up on their end. And then on our side, if it's a 1-score game coming out of halftime, the Paladins are sitting there thinking, what do we have to lose? So I think they'll be playing a little bit more loose in the Wolfpack, and maybe they'll be able to pull out a few more trick plays in the playbook and maybe extend the playbook a little bit more in the third and fourth quarters to maybe pull off the upset. But that first quarter on defense is going to be very, very important for the Paladins.
Yeah, and I would be remiss if I did not mention that I think it was 2 seasons ago, Furman went to Orlando and beat Central Florida. Of course, Central Florida went 0-12.
It's still a win
that year, but it was still a win against an FBS. So that's our last win against an FBS team at Central Florida a couple of years back. The challenge here is immense. But you talk to Clay Hendricks and his staff, you talk to any coach in this situation, and their preparation can only be to find a way to give their team the best chance to win the game. I can promise you this, even though it's the game I'm about to reference was not an FCS versus FBS school, it might as well have been. I can promise you Furman is not going to roll into NC State pull a Kent State against Clemson and get out of town as quickly as they can with that big check in their pocket. They're going to go in with an intent to try and win the game.
It's going to be a battle.
If they do, it would be a win of historic proportions. Let's not underplay it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's the only way you can prepare for a challenge like this is you have to go with the mindset like every other game. You're putting together a game plan to give your team the best chance to win.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think, as SoCon John said, the advantage is going to be on Furman's offense because our defense is going to have a tough time, I think, combating their passing game. But if you can kind of keep them off balance with our option attack and kind of surprise them a few times with some trick plays possibly up George Coral sleeves, we'll see what we can do and kind of maybe give them a little surprise there in the first few possessions of the game and keep ourselves in it for the long haul.
The primo, in my estimation, primo scenario for Furman to have a chance in this game is that the offense just absolutely, with its misdirection and everything else, befuddles North Carolina State's defense and is able to control the time of possession. And then, like I said, even that is still going to require some help from NC State. And NC State's going to have to turn the ball over a couple. And that's what Michigan State did last year to keep us in the game. That's what Central Florida did in the win a couple of years back. They turned it over. Go back to that Florida game where they had a snap over the head of the quarterback that ended up leading to a safety, actually turned into a safety. So those kind of things have to go your way if you're a team in Furman's situation. But I agree with John. The offense, the onus is going to be on them. They're going to have to protect this defense if Furman has any shot of pulling the stunner.
So here's a question for you, Dan, is that in protecting that defense, is that going to make the offense on our side slope a little bit? Are they going to keep on that pace that they've been going about every 20 seconds to get a playoff? Or are they going to kind of slow it up even more than that and to kind of give their defense an extra breather? What do you think about that?
I think you have to be who you are.
Okay.
I mean, you look at the drive last week against Elon that started the comeback. 17 plays, 94 yards, took almost 7.5 minutes off the clock. But they still did it at the normal pace.
Yeah.
Now, pulling off a drive, much less several drives like that against NC State, is going to be much more difficult. But I don't think you can go into a situation and say, well, we're going to have to bleed the play clock down to 30, to 34 seconds before every snap.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I think part of the offense protecting the defense obviously is having success. And to have success, you're going to have to use every weapon in your arsenal, which includes tempo.
Keeping them on their heels, essentially. Yep, I agree with that for sure, Dan.
Anyway, those are some thoughts on the game. Again, we will be live on the Furman IMG Sports Network tomorrow morning at 11:20 with a kickoff set for 12:20. And you'll hear it right here on the Campus FM and chiefly on our flagship station, he said, Fox Sports 1440. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back and get into Forest 3 things. Scott Keeler still to come as well to talk some high school football before the show is done. This is the Dan Scott Show, and we will return right after this message.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget the gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR cell phone repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR cell phone repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today.
Hey Furman fans, it's baseball season. Here at Ingalls, we know that as you root for the home team, sometimes you want more than just peanuts and Cracker Jack. And while we do deliver on your favorite ballpark classics, we're proud to offer a packed lineup of everything you need to make your next meal a home run. Ingalls, a proud sponsor of Furman Baseball and the official grocery store of Furman Athletics. Go Dins!
The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point offers a dining experience that will have you coming back for more time and time again. Everything is freshly made on site, including the different varieties of bread and all the baked goodies. And the menu, Atlanta Bread Company offers a wide variety from hot soups and chili to hot and cold sandwiches and paninis. Even breakfast selections topped off with your choice of piping hot coffees. Come see for yourself. You'll love it. The Atlanta Bread Company at Cherrydale Point, proud sponsors of the Furman Paladins and the Dan Scott Show. .31 as we continue here on this Friday edition of the program. Dan Scott, Forrest Stolting. Say hello to a couple of folks who are tuned in, special folks I'd like to recognize. Drayton Melton, a young man who, gosh, it's been not quite 10 years ago, but approaching 10 years ago, that just as a little guy had to have a liver transplant. And we were blessed to be able to participate in a major fundraiser for him in Anderson, in which we brought the Tams in to do a concert and had a silent auction and all kinds of good stuff. And so it's good to see him. And then my buddy Kevin Kirk from back home in Williamson, West Virginia, who's had his own health battles as well. Good to see you tuned in with us. Before we get to Forrest Three Things, just a word about Greenville Steakhouse. That's Hall's Chop House here in downtown Greenville. You're going to be hearing so much more about them as we move into next week and beyond over the course of the next few months, and hopefully beyond that as well. But only top quality cuts of meat. The food is fantastic, and they want you to know that they have plenty of room for your meetings, for your holiday parties, Christmas parties that'll be coming up, and those type of things. Any type of get-together, they've got the space for it. They're located in downtown Greenville. They are the Greenville Steakhouse. That's Hall's Chop House downtown. Tell them you heard about them here on the show. All right, let's get to it.
Thing one.
Your eyeballs have been itching over there.
Oh,
you're ready to roll.
Especially with this thing one here, Dan. You know that. The Indians, they've won their 22nd straight on a walk-off single by Jay Bruce last night. It's a line drive into the right field corner.
Well, why don't we let Tom Hamilton tell us?
Please do. He can do.
Because the only thing that's been missing in this historic run has been drama. Until
first walk-off.
Until last night. Yep. Check this out.
Bruce awaiting the 2-0 pitch. Here it comes. A swing and a drive to deep right, down the line, base hit, into the corner, around third, coming home Ramirez. It's a game winner for Jay Bruce, and history marches on. A mob scene in shallow center. Jay Bruce getting pummeled as he smoked one down the right field line. A game-winning single for Jay Bruce, and the Indians continue this improbable run. 22 consecutive wins, and the Indians get their first walk-off win in the streak.
It's hard to believe.
Unbelievable stuff there, Dan. Yeah, it really is 22 straight in their first walk-off. I mean, just unfathomable stuff. And leading up to that 10th inning, the Indians were down 2-1 and down to their final strike with the runner on first base. Francisco Lindor laces a double to left field to tie the game just out of the outstretched arms of Alex Gordon, a perennial Gold Glove winner in left field. And that tied the game. Then going in to the 10th inning, Jose Ramirez led off with his 50th double of the season. It was a line drive to right center field, and it looked like only going to be a single off the bat. But Lorenzo Cain kind of slowed up a little bit, and then Jose Ramirez just got aggressive and dashed towards second base and just beat the throw to the bag. Then obviously 2 batters later, after a walk by Edwin Encarnacion, Jay Bruce laces double down the right field line to win the game.
The stat that is almost as incredible as 22 in a row is since trading for Jay Bruce, the Indians are 35-4. They've won 35 out of 39 games since trading for Bruce and putting him into that lineup and into their outfield.
I mean, it's one of the things you could argue about what they were missing last year, because Michael Brantley was injured all last year, and they were missing that kind of big-time power bat, left-handed power bat in their lineup, and obviously Bruce does everything to fill that void there. And so this is a really dangerous team right now, Dan. I mean, and they're clicking on all cylinders. Their starting pitching has been phenomenal. They have 19 wins in the 22 during the streak of the 22. So their pitching is going deep. They're not giving up very many runs, and just everything seems to be going right for the Indians. And I was driving home last night after the Drive game, listening to it on the radio, Tom Hamilton on the call, and man, where my juice is flowing, Dan. I was screaming and hooting and hollering down Poinsett coming back to my house last night.
We had a staff meeting yesterday afternoon, and Mike Buddy, the athletic director, who, as you know, played 4 years in the big leagues, has a World Series ring with the '98 Yankees. And we were talking before the meeting started, or maybe it was after it was over, but anyway, we were chatting. And you know, as a guy who played in the big leagues, he was, you know, asking somewhat rhetorically, but it's a very pertinent question. Do people realize how hard it is, and at that time it was 21, to win 21 consecutive games in the game of baseball?
Oh, my God.
Well, the fact that it had only been done 2 other times in the history of the game.
Won 101 years ago and won about 75 years ago.
Should speak to how difficult it is to do something like this, and because so many things can go wrong.
And just from some perspective for you, each team in the league is going to win about a third of your games. They're going to lose a third of your games. And what you do with your last third determines how good of a baseball team you are. So even the worst teams in the league will win about 35 to 40% of their games throughout the year. And so that just goes to show that no matter how good or bad you are, you're going to come out on the losing side and the winning side more times than not. So it's not anything like football or college basketball where you're going to win 80% of your games. It's just not how it goes in the realm of baseball.
So that's why when you see a team who was on at least a pace like the Dodgers were on before they collapsed,
42-9 at one point.
You go back to, I think the single season record for wins is Seattle with 116. The Yankees had a season of 114. When you see years like that, those are so far out of the realm of the norm that it is that it's crazy. But I mean, the Indians just keep doing what they do,
chugging right along. And that kind of got me thinking. Well, all these winning streaks. What was the biggest winning streak in college football? Just kind of start off thing number 2.
Is this thing 2?
It's this thing 2. So
what time were you thinking yesterday?
That's a good question. Yeah, it might be to some people's surprise that something got me thinking.
Well, there was a point in the afternoon that I thought I smelled some smoke.
Oh, okay, okay. This was late last night.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
I waited till the sun went down to start doing that.
I got you. Thank you for that.
The Oklahoma Sooners, they won 47 straight from the seasons 1953 to 57. In 1953, they lost the opener. Then they tied. Then they went on to win 9 straight to finish the season. They won the Orange Bowl. Then in 55 and 56, They won back-to-back national championships. Obviously, they were voted national champions. It wasn't like it is today. And no other team has. Oh, before we get to that, they had 23 shutouts during that streak of 47. How unbelievable is that? That's just some stout defensive work right there by the Sooners. So,
Bud Wilkinson the head coach during that time?
You are correct there, Dan.
That?
Yeah. And no team has come within 11 wins of that 47 straight. And Dan, my question for you is, what team holds the second longest winning streak in FBS history?
Southern Cal.
Nope, not even in the top 10.
Okay. I was thinking maybe back in the in the Mike Garrett, O.J. Simpson days.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I was thinking maybe that they had a run, but who would it be?
Since the turn of the century in 2000, Miami has the longest with a 34 game winning streak, and FSU with the 29. Miami did it from 2000 to 03, and FSU did it to 2012 to 14.
Mm-hmm.
But the second longest winning streak in the history of college football is Toledo with 35. That
really?
kind of shocked me a little bit there, Dan. Did not see the.
So you have to be careful because when you say turn of the century, I still think 1900.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, yeah, turn of the century of the 2000 era. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yep. That just says age right there.
But I think the accepted terminology for that is a new millennium.
Oh, fair enough. That's fair.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it was a turn of the century, but
it is a new millennium as well.
But
so,
I mean, I'm not Rudy Jones old or anything,
sure,
but I'm old enough where turn of the century to me still means 1900.
So no, I understand that.
Yeah, of course, not many people are Rudy Jones old.
Oh,
Rudy just joined.
Oh, so. Got to poke a little fun, Mr. Jones right there.
Yeah, I think we should, in honor of Rudy being here, I think we should play 2 or 3 stanzas of Sweet Caroline.
Oh God, I saw this. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Rudy. Get it out of the playbook. No more Sweet Caroline. I've had enough. But yeah, just really impressive stuff. And so I'm not sure if we're going to ever see a streak of 47 again in college football, especially with the volatility of coaches, players leaving.
And here's why. More than any of that,
mm-hmm.
Back in those days, there were no scholarship limits. So a team. Like Alabama during the Bear Bryant reign, they could put a player on scholarship just to keep somebody else from getting him. So they may have 6 or 8 quarterbacks on their roster, and only one's going to play and only one's going to be the backup, but the other 5 of them were there so they wouldn't go play for somebody else.
Yeah.
The 85 scholarship limit. That has, in a lot of ways, I won't say leveled the playing field, but helped level the playing field, will pretty much dictate that nobody, at least at that level, at the FBS level, will run off 47 consecutive wins again. I mean, you look how dominant Alabama has been over the last 5, 6, 7 seasons, and they haven't done it.
Yep.
So as dominant as they have been, they've not been able to pull it off. So I think the scholarship limits will be, more than anything else, the one thing that will keep somebody from doing something like that.
No, I agree. One thing is scholarship limits will not prevent from happening is big upsets. And the thing three. There's a couple upsets on the horizon this weekend. The first one we're going to touch on, Oregon at Wyoming. The Ducks had a big win last week against Nebraska. And Oregon, they get a lot of big plays, but I think it's going to be determined on how well they can contain Josh Allen. But Josh Allen has not played well against Power 5 conferences, so we'll see if he can kind of turn things around. But I look in Wyoming. I think Josh Allen and Wyoming will upset the Ducks this weekend.
And who is Wyoming's head coach? The former North Dakota State head coach.
You're right about that.
The one that built that FCS dynasty there. Left a couple of years ago to take over the Wyoming program. I don't know. Maybe they will. I know Oregon had a down season a year ago. Willie Taggart has come in and they win their first game, and then you start to see already, are the Ducks back? Well, they won.
Not quite.
They won one game. We'll find out. Game in Oregon?
Wyoming.
It's at Wyoming? I could see that.
I think it's going to happen there, Dan. Game 2, SMU versus TCU, the battle of the Iron Skillet. This is going to be a battle of TCU's defense against Chad Morris's and SMU's powerful offense. So we'll see who prevails here, but I think Gary Patterson and the Horned Frogs are going to continue rolling after playing a pretty good, or at least a decent Arkansas team last week in Arkansas and beating them down in Fayetteville. I think they're going to come away with the victory and the Iron Skillet in this one.
But if they win, it wouldn't be an upset.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm saying be on the lookout, but I'm picking TCU to win. Yeah.
All right,
TCU needs to be on the lookout for an upset from SMU and the Mustangs.
I agree.
But
TCU wins.
Yep. All right. Game 3. 18th ranked Kansas State visits Vanderbilt in Nashville. I think this has got upset written all over here, Dan. Kyle Shermer, the quarterback for Vandy, has got the best QBR rating in all of America right now. They got a really good defense, and Vanderbilt has not beaten an AP top 25 team in the non-conference in over 70 years, and I think that streak comes to an end this week, Dan, against the Wildcats. And is Bill Snyder still the coach of Kansas State?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you're putting an awful lot on a team whose 2 wins have been over Middle Tennessee and Alabama A&M.
But they played well in the SEC last year, and Dan, don't forget this. They have an SEC defense.
I take Kansas State in this one.
I'm going with Commodores here all the way. I think Schumer is going to continue his hot streak and bring the Commodores to the win.
We'll see what happens. Is that it? Are those your 3? You got one more?
I got one more if you want to go for it. I wasn't sure if you were ready.
Sure.
Yeah, all right. Game number 4.
Might as well. I mean, if you want to embarrass yourself further, keep
no
going.
doubt. I mean, I'm not obviously haven't stopped me yet. So
that's right.
Number 12 LSU visits Mississippi State in the first test for both teams this weekend. Really, LSU has the offense has really turned around a little bit. Not really sure about that. They still got a little bit of carousel quarterback. Got a really young defense, some big guys, and the linebacker especially are going to be missing some time this week down in Mississippi State. So, and Nick Fitzgerald, the quarterback from Mississippi State, he's a real big quarterback. Got a really good arm and can really move around in the pocket and escape for even the big rush. So I think he's going to be the X factor in this game if the linebackers kind of contain him in the pocket and the defensive line can contain him as well. But he's a really good passer, and I think he's going to be the X factor in a big Bulldogs victory this weekend over the number 12 LSU Tigers.
So this would be an upset.
This is an upset, okay. Yeah. A few of those are just upset alerts. A couple of them I think are actually going to be upsets.
Okay.
So,
all right, we'll see what happens.
Absolutely.
Let's take a break. When we come back, we've got the all clear to bring Scott Keeler in to talk some high school football with us as we close out the Friday edition of the program. We will do that on the other side. Don't you dare go away.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Traveler's Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
At SC Telco Federal Credit Union, we're passionate about helping to improve the financial lives of our members. SC Telco is the first financial institution in South Carolina to offer a Price Lake savings account. The Save to Win account allows members to save money, earn interest, and have the chance to win cash prizes. When you're in front of us, you're the only person that matters. Find a location near you at sctelco.com. SC Telco looks forward to serving you. SC Telco is federally insured by the National Credit Union Administration.
The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherry Dell Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville. .10:50 and down the stretch we come. Final segment of the show, final segment of the week. Much to the delight of 2s and 3s of people, I'm sure. Dan Scott, Forrest Stulting, Scott Keeler.
Hi.
Decided to grace us with your presence in studio today.
My Indians hangover's over for the time being.
How are you? It's impressive.
Yeah.
Took a former Red to get the 22nd,
the first
walk-off.
There you go. There you go.
But you got it done.
Yeah, it's crazy. I love the Tom Hamilton call. The call in the ninth might even be better, where they were down to their last strike, and I think any Indians fan would have told you Frankie Lindor's not in the streak. He's going to get on base at somehow he might walk, but he got the big game-tying hit, and it's fun.
No doubt.
What we got today?
Kind of a
high school football, by the way. That's why he's here.
That's my expertise. Yes.
Yeah. Not just to jam up the
yeah, there's only so much
screen.
There's so much Cleveland love that Dan can take, so we need to kind of get off the Indians.
Forrest, you might want to scoot this way a little bit.
Absolutely. There you go. Yeah.
Your ears being cut off. You're right here.
It's still there, everybody. Don't no need to worry.
Kind of a light week this week in the high schools. Everybody's kind of getting in their final non-region games before region play starts up for a lot of folks. Smaller regions these days, at least for this final year, this current realignment, means that we have some more non-conference games going on. But I want to kind of review some of our big games from last week. They were actually pretty one-sided, each of them. Abbeville got revenge, so to speak, over their lone non-win the last 25 games. They tied Lincoln County, Georgia last year. They beat them this year 28-14. Hannah BHP, which I thought would be the game of the week last week. Hannah came out and took care of business 33-14. They're still undefeated.
That surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, Hannah just really looked strong, and I think they're playing with a lot of confidence after the murderer's road they've gone through to be 4-0. And then Burns just keeps on looking like old Burns, whipping Northwestern 48-14 in Rock Hill.
Wow.
So Hannah and Burns are actually, it's funny, we're here at September 15th. There's 11 teams unbeaten in the upstate still, and Hannah and Burns are two of those.
Greenville High is another one.
Greenville High, yep. And Greenwood in 4A, but they're 2-0. They had a game, they had a bye and 2 weeks ago, and then last week their game with Goose Creek was postponed or canceled. I'm not sure if they've rescheduled that or not. Probably not, since Greenwood has already had their bye due to the hurricane threat. They didn't want Goose Creek coming up here. And then in 4A, Greenville and Eastside are now on 2 unbeatens, and 3A, Palmetto, Broome, Chapman, and Newberry are all unbeaten, and then 2A, Abbeville and Southside Christian. And that's it for the upstate unbeatens this year.
Wow.
Yeah, but still have 11 teams unbeaten.
Right.
And for some schools that we're approaching the halfway point of the season, that's not a bad number.
No, but typically I think there is a little bit more. It's not a bad number at all, but I just think, there's been a lot of good games this year so far, and there's been a lot of people kind of beating up on each other. Spartanburg and Northwestern are 2-2. They face off tonight. And so one of those teams is going to be under 500 halfway through the season, which is kind of shocking.
Yeah. So what are we focusing on this evening?
A couple of matchups I think looking forward to. BHP's at Palmetto coming off that first loss last week. Palmetto's 3-0. BHP's dominated the series over the years. This is actually quite a rivalry. And over the recent years, including an 84-0 win in 2013.
Goodness gracious.
But last year, Palmetto lost over at BHP 35-21. And this year they get them at home. There's two teams that have a lot of talent back from BHP went 11-2 last year. Palmetto went 10-3 last year, obviously with that one of those losses to BHP. So it'll just be interesting. Palmetto, this is their first big test of the season. And Coach Doug Shaw over there has done a really good job of turning that program into a contender. They have very good quarterback play. They have a young quarterback this year named Blair Garner, who looks really solid. I think he's a sophomore this year.
I think it's Blair Garner's my wife's cousin. Seriously.
Okay, cool.
Seriously.
Cool.
So.
Runs in the family there, Dan.
Well, just keep.
Move on.
Move on, yeah.
I stumped him.
So it would
I was going to say something about her side of the family.
Okay.
They might be watching.
Fair enough.
And the other kind of game to kind of look at tonight, I think, is two of those unbeatens. Broome at Burns. Now, people might say 3A versus 5A. Well, what really kind of set Burns into a tailspin last year was losing to Broome. And Broome was solid last year at 6-4, but they didn't make the playoffs. And Burns was 1-3 going into the Broome game last year at this time, but they had played a really tough schedule. They lost to Mallard Creek out of North Carolina, Power, and other folks like that. But then they went to Broome and lost, and that really kind of set the tone for the rest of their season. They went 3-8 as 3-7.
Is Broome 4A or 5A?
Broome is 3A.
3A.
So this is a 5A versus 3A matchup over at Burns.
Don't see that too often, do you?
No, and it was really kind of surprising when they landed on Burns' schedule. But like I said, I think a lot of people thought last year, well, here's where Burns gets healthy and they go on from here, and that didn't happen. And so Burns will be looking for a little bit of revenge tonight.
All right, so what else do we have?
That's really it. I mean, Abbeville's going to look to stay unbeaten against Clinton. Always a tough game. One of those type of games it's a sports writer's dream. It'll be over by 9:30, guaranteed. Clinton and Abbeville.
Yeah, still won't beat the deadline though.
That's true. But
nice. I like that
for certain people. And that's, like I said, that's kind of about it this week. So.
All right, good stuff. How's the blog going?
Blog's going well.
FurmanSportsReport.com.
Gotta find some kind of time to write something about NC State this week. Mm-hmm. If we could kind of touch on that a little bit, I appreciated what she said earlier. I think another thing, in addition to depth, is technology. Everybody from everywhere has their highlights somewhere on the internet. And, the old type of players that would slip through the cracks to Furman, like a Luther Broughton type, went on to play tight end in the NFL. I think those guys are fewer and further between for Furman these days, just because of technology. Just my opinion.
Well, I mean, with the story of the quarterback from Wyoming.
Exactly.
Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Who sent his highlight reel, quote unquote,
1,000 coaches.
Emailed it to 1,000 coaches and got just a handful of responses.
You got two offers from Wyoming.
One was Wyoming.
Yeah,
that's
Wyoming and Eastern Michigan. Yeah. So
it's two pretty stark outposts
in
the world of college football.
Would not say they're pallbearers for anything really. So
yeah. And 864 Living. That's going well.
Another podcast. Our talk with Mike Buddy was one of the most downloaded ones we've ever had last week, and this week I talked to the Family Effect, which is run out of the Phoenix Center in Greenville. They do a really interesting program where they help people who are recovering from addictions, but they keep those families together rather than sending the kids off to foster care or something like that. They're able to keep that dynamic together so that heals a little bit more quickly maybe than if you have a recovering addict that gets their life turned around, but then they've been separated from their child for a while. That can be kind of tough to mend that relationship as well. But
absolutely,
they work to keep them together. And really interesting talk this week.
Good stuff.
All right, good stuff. We'll encourage people to go out and check out the blog, FurmanSportsReport.com, and then 864living.com for the podcast as well. Anything else you got going on?
I'm sure I do, but I can't think of it.
Okay, that's why I wonder. Were you a fan of In Living Color when it was on? You remember the skit they did about the Jamaicans, and they all had 18 jobs.
That's this guy.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Where your dreads at, man?
All right, Scott, thank you very much. Forrest, trivia question answer. That was a good question.
Yeah, it was. All right, so reset the question for everybody here. How many Paladin running backs have run for at least 100 yards 10 or more times? Any guesses?
2.
2? Close. 5.
Okay.
You have Lewis Ivory, did it 31 times. Carl Trimble, 25 times. Stanford Jennings, 20. Robbie Gardner, 10. And Larry Robinson, 10 as well. So
And Jerome Felton's not on that list.
Nope.
Surprises
I
me.
think he rushed for it 8 times, so he was just below that mark.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, hang on.
Mike's off. There you go. A lot of running backs play with Jerome.
That's
you
true.
know.
Yeah, that's true.
And he was the one that got it done when he needed to pop.
Yeah. He got probably one of the most touchdowns.
Powered
in
into the end
history.
zone. Yeah.
All right, good stuff. I want to say hello to some folks who have tuned in via the Periscope tweet internationally, and I hope I'm getting these names right. Afani and Anami and Urifs or Urifs, Nugs and Kisses. I like that one. Crexia. So just on and on and on. I love the internet, man.
You got
love the internet. All right, that is what?
Can you do some on this dates real quick?
All right, quick.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Come on.
In 1914, Napoleon Lajoie collects his 3,000th hit and is the third player to do so behind. Who do y'all? Any guesses?
Third player to do so, 1914, Honus Wagner.
That's one.
And
Keeler?
No.
Tris Speaker.
No. Tip the cap to you, Cap Hansen.
Cap Hansen. Okay.
In 52, the Braves play the last game in Boston, head to Milwaukee. Bob Watson hits for the cycle and is the first player to do so in both leagues. In 99, the AL and NL offices agree to merge next season. And in 2014, Jacob deGrom strikes out the first 8 batters he faces and ties the record held by Jim, I'm going to get this wrong, Deshays, excuse me, in 1986.
Jim, 2 silhouettes on Deshays. Do you know the other little piece of baseball trivia that Bob Watson owns? And you know, not talking about being GM of the Yankees or his time in the league office or anything like that, but as a player, there's a very unique piece of trivia that Bob Watson owns.
I don't think I know that.
Back in 1976, 77, somewhere around there, he scored the 1 millionth run in the history of Major League Baseball.
Wow. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
I like that.
There you go. So you stick around, you'll learn something.
You got that right every now and then.
Right. That is going to do it, I believe. We will talk to you tomorrow from Raleigh with the pregame show coming up at 11:20 and the kickoff at 12:20 for Furman and NC State. You'll hear it on our flagship station, Fox Sports 1440. Also here on the Campus FM 95.9. via FurmanPaladins.com, via TuneIn Radio, Smoke Signal, Carrier Pigeon, whatever else we can do.
We'll get on that later today, Dan.
We'll get it out there for you as well. And then back here on Monday to wrap up another huge weekend. And yes, by the way, just so I don't hear it from anybody, Deshaun Watson and the Texans beat my Bengals on national television last night. 13-9. He got his first NFL win and his first NFL start on his birthday.
And pretty good rushing touchdown, too.
Yeah, the only touchdown of the game.
After he got blown up by Geno Atkins. Yeah.
So. Another team from Ohio that couldn't score on a Deshaun Watson quarterback team.
Yeah.
Man.
I saw that tweet
Good
last night.
Shot.
Thank you very little. That is our former guest, Scott Keeler, and Forrest Stulting. I'm Dan Scott saying thank you for joining us, and we will see you back here again on Monday. Until then, for all of us, God bless you, and so long, everybody.